Uniform Civil Code. I'm sure you're aware the Prime Minister has spoken on this issue, and he says in one family there can't be two set of laws. The set of laws, even the personal laws, need to be uniform in this country. I just want to understand from you, there are various criticisms when we talk about a uniform civil code. There's the argument of diversity, there's the argument of timing, the right politics and posturing. How do you see this as a student of law? Is the time ripe and correct for us to have a UCC?
Well, diversity is undoubtedly a good value. But the point of the matter is, diversity can't be used as a smokescreen for oppression. Now, diversity doesn't mean, for instance, that you have triple talaq and subject women to, the vagaries of a man's whims and fancies, and the breaking up of the marital cord on the recital of 3 words. So, I think we're making a little bit too much of diversity. Diversity also needs to be reasonable. So when critics talk about diversity, I think the answer is that, listen, there are other values which are more laudable than just diversity. And one is equality in the case of women. And also, upholding the sanctity of marriage, I suppose, to some extent.
There are various people who argue that there is the 6th schedule of the Constitution. There are various special tribes and communities recognized, say, in the northeast of the country, which is a matriarchal society, some segments of it. And to have a uniform civil code is not something which various communities or their religious bodies are opposing. But even under the 6th schedule, it is constitutionally a very problematic concept. Do you agree with that, sir?
Well, I'm not saying it's not free from all problems, but that doesn't mean you don't make a start. Right. And certainly all stakeholders will be taken into consideration. Their views will be called for, considered, mulled over. And then, you will get. But a start needs to be made. I mean, it's a constitutional mandate of 75 years now. Our Constitution, Article 44, contemplates it. So, so how long is this going to go on? There are always going to be archaic practices. There are always going to be some customs and conventions. But ultimately, the purpose of a uniform civil code is to bring civil life with some uniformity, but more than that, afford dignity to all. It can't be a backwater issue. It's got to be now, conforming to modern notions and even our present constitutional morality. So, and modern notions of what constitutes dignity and equality, etc.
Mr. Jethmalani, I believe, as while covering the Supreme Court, looking at our judgments in the last 1 decade, I have found that the tone of reform in our country, especially pertaining to personal laws, is somewhere hijacked by this super, hyper-vigilant notion or these phobias of, look, the diversity is under attack. We are not able to have a sane discussion as far as reform in this country is concerned, especially when it comes to personal laws. Any kind of reform, whether it's coming from the government or even the Supreme Court of India, has been resisted and even overturned in this country. Do you believe the time is right, the political atmosphere is right? Because there are many people who argue, look, the political atmosphere is not right, we need to wait for the elections to get over.
No, I don't think so at all. I think, in fact, it should be an election issue. I really think that it's now time to test this issue. The BJP has had it in its manifestos for a long time, and it's going to implement it going into the next election in 2024. I think it needs to be tested. And I think it's a very serious issue. And we've had our forefathers who, as I said, debated for long periods of time on the issue of the Uniform Civil Code, and then incorporated it in Article 44. So it's a constitutional mandate. It's time now, and Supreme Court from time to time, as far back
the government.
The Shah Bano has been reminding the government about its constitutional responsibilities to implement directive principle, and this is a good cause. It doesn't oppress anybody. Everybody is going to have to give up those angularities in its religion, those prescriptions of their religion, which don't conform to sensible or rational practice. I mean, it has to be. Yeah, there are once upon a time, even the West didn't provide franchise to slaves and women, and all that is changed now. So notions keep evolving, and especially notions of equality and dignity.
What would you like to tell those critics who call the argument or the cry for a uniform civil code a way to target the minorities for political gain?
Let me just say this. I've already said something about the diversity mantra,
Sure.
right? But now diversity, which ought to be really a liberal concept, right? It's now becoming the mantra of arch conservatives, of fundamentalists, and doctrinaire espousers of religion. I think this has to stop now. It is time now that, and nobody better than Prime Minister Modi, with the massive mandate and support he has, to fulfill India's constitutional destiny,
Right.
and bring it completely, into modern notions of, as I said, egalitarianism and dignity, and face he's got to now take the bull by the horn, right?
Yeah.
No matter what the criticism is, right? Ultimately, it is going to be debated. It's not going to be forced down anybody. It's going to be
Absolutely.
debated. Everybody will see, and everybody will see the rights and wrongs of anything that's being done.
Absolutely. My last question to you pertaining to UCC is that the present government, Modi government, has had 2 terms, and it has been a very emphatic mandate. In fact, this government has been very assertive about the legal or the constitutional changes that they wanted to bring, say, this abrogation of Article 370 and various other legislative and legal measures that they have taken. Why do you think UCC has not been a reality so far? And in your understanding, the UCC, bringing of UCC and making it a reality, would it be one stroke of a statute, or would we require a series of legislative methods and statutes to make it a reality in India?
But, I think the delay is because out of, although Article 370 was contentious, right, it was really contentious only, for people in Jammu and Kashmir, and particularly vested interests in Jammu and Kashmir. But this, given the diversity of Indian society, particularly the religious diversity, and to some extent the caste diversity, which will be affected by any legislation on uniform civil code, right? This had to be carefully considered, sorted, and there's been a simmering debate going on even in the courts for a long time.
Right.
And aspects of it, for instance, the hijab issue, triple talaq, all the nikah halal, which is pending right now. All these, had we had a uniform civil code in place, there wouldn't have been so much time taken to the courts for all these, issues, frankly. So I think, just one strong reason also for doing this is that, we are cluttering the court with issues, of social life, which could be resolved at one stroke of a statute, by one statute.
The courts don't need to decide what is written in Quran or in Gita, and perhaps this is a job which is best left to the legislature. Sir, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts as far as Uniform Civil Code is concerned, and I'm sure this is going to be a very intriguing debate.